There's never been a time of opportunity like it is now because of those two things. There was just no stopping me. I was going to figure it out. That's what they referred to me as, was their secret weapon. Let me tell you about this painful experience that I had launching a product and it falling absolutely flat. If I had that, then people would just sign up like crazy. And I was absolutely incorrect. I was wrong. You need to validate before you actually build. Just to keep the lights on for our business was 7 figures a month. Failure is a massive requirement. Failure is really just a feedback loop, and that's what you need. You need to have feedback. If you can identify that for your business, there's a good chance that you're going to reap some really great reward. I'd never seen that amount of money ever in my life. And then it was just a rocket ship. It took me staff, time, resources, weeks, hours to get to this place where you can do this now with AI. It's all about getting data. It's all about getting information. That is the whole game. Now the market's telling me exactly what they will pay for. In their words, it is the voice of the customer. Now I've built an AI agentic team that is getting really good results. And here's the structure of this.
As I've been building out this SaaS build, there's one piece I keep circling back to: research. Now, not the kind you skim through in a weekend. I'm talking about the messy, real-world kind that either gives you conviction to move forward or leaves you stuck and second guessing. Lately, I've been feeling that tension. Ideas are flying in, tools promising clarity, and this pressure to somehow know what's worth building before anything's actually built. So in this episode, I wanted to explore that more deeply with someone whose perspective I really value. And just to ground things off quickly, if you're new to the series, here's the challenge I'm in. This challenge is simple but serious. I'm building and launching an AI native SaaS product that either generate $100,000 in revenue or that exits at that value. It has to be AI operational at its core, not just branded by AI, but actually run by it. We are starting bootstrapped. No external investors, no pre-built AI products that have made revenue. It's solo-led, but not done in isolation. I'll bring in collaborators, collaborative support, automation tools, and even partnerships or sponsorships, so long as I stay hands-on with every decision and build. The entire process is being shared in real time, transparently, with successes and failures, no sugarcoating. And just to be clear, this isn't a step-by-step guide or promise of any form of result. It's a personal challenge I'm documenting publicly, not a prescription for what you should do. So please do not misunderstand this built in public challenge. Now, back to the episode. If you've been around the entrepreneurial journey or the online business world, there's a very good chance you've heard of Chris Evans. He's built multiple successful businesses over the past few years. We've been working pretty closely together across different projects, and right now we're co-developing a lot of the AI native software products that's part of this challenge. In this episode, we explore how research has evolved, not just from team-heavy processes to AI agents, but from slow, scattered guesswork to faster, more focused insight loops. Chris breaks down exactly how we used to do it back when teams and time were the only leverage, and then shows how he's now using modular agents to handle the heavy lifting. We unpack his validation process, the emotional nuances he looks for, and how he knows when an idea is actually worth building. I've also attached Chris's channel down below in the description. I highly recommend checking it out. Quick heads up. Because you're staying until the end of this episode, you're about to see something most founders hardly ever get the opportunity to get access to. A live breakdown on how to validate SaaS or any potential idea in real time. We'll dive into the actual tools, the exact prompts, and the frameworks that turn research from guesswork into clarity. I invite you to allow yourself to watch from the very beginning, because the context you'll hear before the demo will completely shift how you approach every idea you build. Just before we start, Chris, dude, seriously, I appreciate you taking the time to break all of this down and share your experience and expertise, mate. So to kick things off, walk me through it from your side. How did you first get into consulting and the infobusiness world?
Back in 2009, 2010, I actually started a local business here in the Charlotte area. And back then, we used phone books. And at some point within the year and a half after starting that business, the phone book started to dry up. I had to figure out another way to keep the phone ringing so that we could keep the business going. At this point, I didn't know anything about really marketing or internet marketing for sure. It was still fairly early in those days. And I started to do some research, and I found out about search engine optimization. And that was a really fascinating prospect to me, that I could control how many people saw my website and therefore how many people would call my business and ask for our service. So that led me to learning how to run paid ads. And so I started doing that for local businesses because some of them saw what I was able to do. And at some point or another, I would build local websites and get them ranked on the first page of Google, and actually lease or rent out these websites. And from there, around 2013, I think it was 2013, there was this group of online marketers who sold consulting and coaching and info products. They needed someone with my skill set, someone who could come in and who could run ads and build out the tech. And so I went and worked with them to essentially be their secret weapon. And that's what they referred to me as, was their secret weapon. Come in and build a lot of their back-end marketing infrastructure from scratch, building out funnels, running their ads, writing copy, writing webinars. And a lot of it was experimentation. I had the drive, I had the ambition, I had the work ethic, and there was just no stopping me. I was going to figure it out no matter what. And they had the budget, they had the resources. And so both of us, myself and working with this group of multiple entrepreneurs and thought leaders, we were able to create some really cool launches and drive a good amount of revenue. And so I did that for a few years, just working behind the scenes, in the trenches, from beginning to end, how to launch and create successful information coaching products, all on the back mostly of paid advertising and then affiliates. So that gave me a really intense depth of experience, and it helped my confidence to work with those guys and to find a really cool level of success where they had a lot of prosperity in their business. It came to a point, though, that I wanted to go out on my own and essentially have my own success. Now I had the skill set, I'd been battle tested, and I wanted to do that for myself. And so I met up with another guy who had a very similar skill set in the marketing world. He was a great copywriter and was pretty solid at sales. And we had the idea to partner together. And so the end of 2015, we launched our own agency and consulting business. And it took off like a rocket ship. We were able to run ads, to get prospects, to get attention on the offer that we had. And we essentially built this thing as we were going down the track. We had an idea, we validated it. So how it worked was my partner had an email list of about 117 people. And so the thought was, why don't we email them and tell them what we're doing and that we can help them to grow their business, because we were both really proficient at marketing, copywriting, ads, pretty good at putting together offers. And so we didn't try to go out and build the thing before we sold it. What we did is we put it to market to his small little tiny list, and we just connected with people and we had conversations and we listened to their problems and to their challenges. And so when we sent out those first batches of emails, I think it was maybe September of 2015, we got 3 people that said, yes, I want you to help me to grow my business. And these were 3 completely different types of businesses. And we had confidence that we could figure it out, but we didn't have anything proven, so to speak. So we essentially launched a beta program where it's like, we're going to do this, we're going to grow this thing. We had an idea, we had people to talk to, and then it was actually validating it. So we sent out the emails, we got people on the phone call, we listened to their problems or challenges, said, yeah, we can help you with that. And again, mind you, we had no products, nothing polished. It was essentially a Google Doc and conversations. And we offered them a beta pricing, so a lower tiered pricing to basically get in and us to help them achieve an outcome that they wanted. And so we had 3 people say yes, and we essentially collected $3,000 per client to help them build out their marketing, their offer, and to take their offer and scale it on ads, because that's what we were pretty good at. So this is really important to realize and recognize. You look for a market who has an urgent problem, and do you have a solution that's unique that could solve that? You just have to figure it out. You have to have conversations to talk to people. So that's what we did. And this applies across the board. It doesn't really matter what you're selling. This is a really good process because for us, I had made the mistake before in previous years of building out this beautiful course. It was, I forgot what it actually was. I think it was about short selling, but I built out this beautiful course. Like, it looked so professional and it was polished. And it took me months and months and months to actually get this thing to market. By the time I got it to market, I'd exhausted my resources and nobody wanted it. So that was a big learning lesson and a very painful learning lesson. So going through this process of learning, you need to validate before you actually build. And you want to take micro steps. This is what we did. All that led to, we validated that people wanted what we had to help them scale their business with ads and with marketing funnels. So we were we were both still really busy with our own client work, where we just kind of did this part-time when we could. And come to the end of 2015, we decided to go all in on this business. So January 1, 2016, it's like, okay, we're focused on this 100%. We decided to take the last 2 years of December off, just be with the family. But we had ads running, and those ads were going to build our sales calendar, our sales opportunity for the month. That first full-time month, we did $127,000 in revenue. I'd never seen that amount of money ever in my life. And then it was just a rocket ship. Now, of course, February, we had a massive dip. I think we did 30-something thousand in revenue. And it was terrifying because we thought that January was a fluke. Anyways, we bounced back and, just essentially hit a 7-figure run rate really quickly. And so we started to notice patterns and things that are really important. When you have something that works, it's a lot easier to repeat that. And we did that. And so we built multiple 8-figure businesses from that structure that we built, those frameworks that we built. And here's what it is. It's identifying who has a really intense problem, an urgent problem that you can solve. Can you solve that? Does it make sense for them? Is your solution unique? And will they pay for it? Essentially, if you can identify that for your business, if it's a SaaS or consulting business or whatever that business is, there's a good chance that you're going to reap some really great reward if you can figure that out. So long story short, we built a $70 million consulting coaching business portfolio. We had multiple businesses that were 7 figures within that portfolio. It was all pretty epic. And we had a team of about 150 people that worked for us. We had 20,000 square feet of office space. We were spending anywhere from $300,000 a month in paid ads up to $800,000 to $1 million a month. Just to keep the lights on for our business was 7 figures a month. That was just to pay the bills, pay the team, pay the leases, pay all the softwares. It was very intense. And so that was all from being in the trenches, having an idea, quickly validating that idea. And validating, that means, are people interested? Are they saying yes? And will they give you a credit card? Will they pay you for the solution that you're saying that you have? That's what any great business is built on, whether it's a SaaS service business, consumer goods product, whatever it is. That's what it's built on.
That's super helpful, Chris. Thanks for sharing. And looking back at it now, what do you think were some of the biggest shifts or moments that really shaped how you build today?
I think it's learning a skill set that other people need, i.e. being able to create effective marketing campaigns and to run ads and to deliver on products and services, and now to understand how to scale a pretty large business to the tune of multiple 8 figures from the ground up, no investment taken. That was self-funded, building those businesses. So learning that most businesses are built on the same structure and framework. You need a good product, a good offer. You need someone who's got a very intense problem that you can solve right away. And when you do that, you can solve it in stages if they have multiple problems. And you need to be able to actually fulfill and deliver. Like, that's the crux of being able to be prosperous or successful in your business venture. And so when I learned that, and that, oh, this is actually a template that I can repeat, then that's what I did. And that's how I ended up starting multiple businesses. It was essentially understanding the framework of how to grow a business. And you need someone that has an urgent problem. You need to have an urgent solution that's really good, that's unique. And you actually need to deliver that. And if you have those key components, there's a good chance that if you also stick with it, that you'll find some success. And here's the thing. I don't think there's really failure in business, because failure is really just a feedback loop. And that's what you need. You need to have feedback, because we all have a hypothesis. So we all have theories in what's going to work, or maybe what's not going to work, until we actually put it to the market, until we actually send that email, until we actually have a conversation with someone to see, okay, what's your problem? What's your challenge? Is this something that you would pay for? Okay, if so, here's the solution, here's the offer, give me your credit card, right? Until you actually do that, you don't know. And fear oftentimes just keeps us trapped in a place of inaction. And so the people who are successful are not the people who are afraid to fail or fall on their face. It's the people who just do it. They just take action, because they understand that failure is a massive requirement. Another pivotal moment is realizing how much opportunity is actually out there. Literally, you can almost throw a rock and hit opportunity, because opportunity comes from people, and people have problems. So when you think that, okay, there's not a shortage of opportunity, it's actually honing in and focusing on what the problem is that I can solve. And that's a good place to start. You start with, what are your skill sets? What are the competencies that you have? That's really a good place to start. Then, once you realize what your competencies are, your skill sets, either that you have or that you can acquire, and in today's day and age, especially with AI, that is something that the playing field is rather leveled because of AI. The speed of which and what you can learn, and the ability to take things to the market and test. There's never been a time of opportunity like it is now because of those two things. When we used to test before, it was a lot more intense and required a lot more resources to even test something or grow a business. And that barrier has been lowered for you to have an idea and go to market with that idea quickly. There's never been an opportunity like there is right now. What led me to exploring AI seriously is my experience of growing a $70 million portfolio, having a 7-figure monthly nut to pay my expenses for the business, having over 100 people on my team, having 20,000 square feet of office space, having thousands and thousands of dollars in software costs. I understand the requirements and often the massive responsibility and burden of scaling a business. It's intense and it's a lot. And so as I started to really dive into AI in 2024, I saw how AI is making it so much more accessible to develop and create really good products and offers and services for so much less cost and less resource and less time.
That makes a lot of sense, especially the stuff around the weight and scale. I've been feeling that too, like the tension between building momentum and keeping things light enough to pivot. What was it about that moment in December that made you say, okay, I'm pivoting into AI fully?
It was like a light bulb went off in my mind. And it was actually, for me, it was December 28th. I remember like, I'm committing to this. I'm going to dive into this and figure it out. And of course, the rapid pace of it is just insane. How it's evolving and changing. It's becoming so smart, and there's so many opportunities. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at, okay, what are my skill sets? What are my abilities? What are my unique experiences that I can bring my unique gifts? And here's the thing that's important to understand. It's so easy to fall into the trap to feel like we're behind, to feel like we don't have it, that we're not enough. And I think that that's just not a good mindset to have, because we're all uniquely gifted and created with certain abilities and talents. You have talents and abilities that I don't have, and vice versa. And there's billions and billions and billions of people on this earth that have challenges and problems that I can uniquely, with my makeup, my perspective, my thinking, my talents, my gifts, the things that I've cultivated, I can bring a solution to those people. And the same for you. So what's really important is to identify what is that. And I would highly encourage you to write some of those things down and to really explore that in depth. And this is something that I talk about on my YouTube channel as well. Let me tell you about this painful experience that I had in launching a product and it falling absolutely flat, and why this is going to be really valuable for you. If you don't know your market, if you don't know who they are, if you don't know what their problem is, then there's a good chance that whatever you're launching, whether it's a SaaS or service or product or consulting, whatever it is, there's a good chance that it's not going to get any momentum. Because a mistake that I made was I was way too general. I didn't identify, okay, what is one person with one urgent problem that I could solve? And when I launched that product years ago, I didn't understand that. And it was very costly. It cost me a tremendous amount of time, and it cost a lot of money to develop that product that no one was really interested in buying when I finally went to market. And I thought that I needed to have something very polished and beautiful, and it looked great. And if I had that, then people would just sign up like crazy. And I was absolutely incorrect. I was wrong. People don't really care about that, especially on the outset. When you're just testing something, people care that you know what their challenges and problems are, and they care that you can solve it. That's what they care about. They care about them. They care about their problems. They don't care about your art. They don't care about your backstory. They care about themselves. And why this is so important, and one of the epiphanies that I had, was when we validated our initial offer to the market. It was messy. It was not organized. It was not pretty. It was a conversation, listening to the problem, offering a solution, and sending a Google Doc of an outline of how we're going to help them. That was it. And we collected $9,000, and then we took that $9,000 and reinvested into the business. So the epiphany that is really crucial that you understand is how important research is in the process of developing any product, service, or offering. If you don't do your due diligence and research, then there's a really good chance that you will fall flat on your face. So you must research the market. Now, again, start with what you know, what you have, your skills, abilities, and then can you bring a solution to a certain market? Now, what we did is we realized that it's most effective when we identify one person, one urgent problem, and bring our one solution. That is the best framework in my experience from building multiple 8-figure businesses. That is the best framework to actually validating an offer that it has legs, people will buy it, and then potentially have scale to get to our end goal.
Yeah, that story about the polished offer that flopped, yeah, I've had quite a few of those myself as well. And it's easy to forget how quickly we can start building into silence if we're not careful. Take me back to how you used to do it when you were researching new offers in the early days. Like, what was your actual process like?
So here's what we used to do. I had a team of copywriters and marketers. And what we would do is we would do very intense research. It would take weeks and weeks for us to do this research. We would research forums and blogs and articles and books and book titles, what was selling, what wasn't selling. We would phone interview customers who had bought smaller ticket items, or just any ideal customer that we could get a hold of. We would run anywhere from 20, 30 to 40 phone call interviews where my team would go and speak to people and ask them a series of questions, calling people on the phone and having real life conversations that took weeks and weeks and a lot of man hours. So we would call and we would ask them about their experience, who they are, their background. We want to know their demographics as much as they would be comfortable sharing. We want to know what their biggest problem was, their urgent problem. And then we wanted to know what their desires were. What's the goal? If you could fix this problem, what would that look like? What would your day look like? What would your life look like if you could solve this problem? And then we would ask them, how have you tried to solve this before? Surely if this is a big problem, you've tried to solve it. And if you haven't solved it, why do you think that is? What went wrong? Now, I want you to make note of this. This is really important. Keep these questions in front of you as you're listening, because this is going to be important for what I'm going to tell you coming up. Then we would ask them if they've looked at other solutions. Have they tried other solutions? Have they looked at other solutions but didn't buy? And why did they not buy? Because not only do I want to know what the urgent problem is, what their desires are, what they know about the solutions in the marketplace, but what are their objections to the solutions in the marketplace? This is all really important intel. And then so after we would get all that intel, we would organize it. And we would put it in such a way where we want to start to see patterns and commonalities. Okay, out of all these people that we've interviewed and all this research, what are the common patterns that people are saying? And so this process versus what I went through back in building that course that fell flat was, now the market's telling me exactly what they will pay for. They are telling me exactly what they will need. Not only that, but they're telling me in their words. It is the voice of the customer. It's not old Chris back here guessing on this one product of, man, the market's going to buy this. I mean, why wouldn't the market buy this? No, this is actually the market, my ideal ICP, my ideal customer profile, telling me exactly what their problem is, exactly what their dreams, desires, and goals are, what their perfect scenario would look like or ideal scenario, and what their objections are. This is very important intel. And this is why research is absolutely crucial, because it's going to help you hit the target. It's going to help you hit the bullseye. And it's going to give you, it's almost like a honing beacon, where the closer you get, right, you're going to get that beacon. And this is what research does for you. And so when you go to launch and you go to validate and you actually build a product, an MVP product, and you go to sell it to the marketplace, you're going to be way closer to someone being willing to give you a credit card. Where I was previously, I was in a different universe. And so how you position a market comes all from the research. How you build the product, how you position your product, how you position your offer comes all from the research. And some of the best copywriters in the world will tell you a successful product service starts with research. That's it. So let me give you another tip on this. One, you start with what you know, who you know, what's in your environment, what's in your circle. Are there people that have a problem that you can solve that you already know, or something that you're running up against yourself? If not, then you look at what's already out there. What is already selling successfully? So I've done both of these. I've solved my own problems and said, okay, this is a problem I have. Can I create a solution? Is there a solution out there already? Can I create a solution? Will other people buy that? If it's a problem that I have, maybe my friends or people I know, that's an easy way to validate, at least with a conversation and then some kind of beta offer, some very low risk beta tests for a market like I mentioned before. So that's the first way to do it when you're actually going to launch an offer. The second way to do it is looking at who's out there already successfully selling something to an ICP, an ideal customer profile, that you have an idea. One of my last previously successful business launches, a business that I scaled very quickly, scaled to 8 figures within about 8 months. We started by looking at potential competitors. Who's already selling something like this very successfully? Because if they're doing it successfully, it's already validated. There's already a market that says, yes, I want that. They're paying for it. And they've already spent the time, effort, energy to go through that process that I'm mentioning. They've already done the research and all these things. Now, you're still going to do research. You still need to have your own unique solution spin. But if someone's already validated a solution, that's a really good place for you to start with your SaaS, with your product, service offer, your agency, whatever it is. So this is a part of your research. Now, again, we used to do all that manually. We would search and scour the internet. We would have conversations. We would look at blogs and forums. We'd look at products that were already selling. How long have they been selling? What are the ads? How long have they been running ads? These are all really important and crucial elements, because the longer someone's been doing something, there's a good chance that it's successful, that it's working some form or fashion. So what you do is you come in and you become an observer, right? You're an investigator. You're looking. What's in my market? What's in my environment? What's in my network that's an urgent problem that I can come and solve? Or what can I see? What do I see out there in the marketplace that I can solve that's already being sold and it's working? I can bring my own spin, my own unique iteration on it. I could do it faster, cheaper, better. Okay. That's a good thing to think about as you're thinking about where to go with your product, service, or SaaS.
Got you. All right. Now, let's flip the lenses a bit, Chris, if you don't mind. How has your approach changed since bringing AI into the mix? Like, what's different now?
So we used to run really intense research processes that took weeks. Now I'm in a place where I'm not in those businesses anymore. I've got my own, essentially agile consulting coaching business. And I see the ability to leverage AI. So where I used to have a team and a lot of resources to do research, and it took a lot of time, now I've built an AI agentic team of research members, all AI, that is getting really good results on where my market is. And here's the structure of this. 1, I need to have context. For AI to work really well, to give you a good output that works, what I need to know the nuance. Like, I need to know if those customer profiles were to give me their journals about their problems. That's the level that I'm looking from an intel standpoint. What are their deep, intense problems that they need a solution to? And some general search or some general AI return is not going to do it.
Ah, okay. I know you've got a pretty complex agent stack at this point. Can you break down how your research agents actually operate and like what are the different roles?
I'm going to show you a form that I do, that I supply my AI team. And these are individual agentic agents that go out and they search, and they have so much data and intel to feed me back the research results that I need to be able to take action to go to market with a new strategy or a new product or new offer. So this is all something I built from code. This is my research process. So this is a lot of my communication. I've got my prompt built in here. So remember I said that you need to have context and you need to have a prompt for when you're running research. I don't know code. I actually gave Claude the context of what I wanted, and we've just been working on it together and coding this. So these are my agents. I've got an avatar agnostic coordinator. So this is kind of the main agent that coordinates. I've got a conversion copy agent. So after the research, this guy puts it in a format that's oriented for creating conversion. Now, this is a process I need for my clients because all good marketing, all good products start with good research. And so this is a process that I need for my own consulting work. So I ended up creating a team of agents that runs this whole process for me very quickly with deep nuance, market intelligence, and information, so that I then have hypothesis to go to the market with, whether it's running ads, building a conversion mechanism, launching a product. It all starts here. So I've got these different agents. I've got an interview agent that actually simulates client interviews. So this is actually pretty crazy, and you can do this with AI manually, but I want it to all be autonomous and automated. And what I do is I submit my form, my agents go to work, they do all the stuff that I've built, and then they give me a really good output on the deep things that they're dealing with, the problems, the challenges, the solutions, the objections that they have. It's pretty incredible. All right, so this is my AI team. This is a team that I've built of agentic agents, and there are multiple agents within this team. Now, this is a fairly complex process. You don't have to use this. You can, though, take this context and build a prompt. You can just use AI to actually question and get to the place where you have an idea of what these things might be. Okay, that's a good place to start. So you can kind of take this and you can see the context questions that I'm asking, the name of the business or service, information about the offerings. And again, you can make all this up. Now you want to have a good idea of what you're doing, right? Because the quality of the output depends on the context and the quality of the input. The input comes from you. The output obviously is going to be AI in your research process. So think about these things. What is their reality? What's the thing that they're dealing with, their challenges, their problems, that your offer, your service, your SaaS, your agency, whatever, what is the thing that it fixes, it solves? And you can test this around. You can put as much information in here as possible. And then you can test it with not having much information, right? So voice of the customer. What are their complaints? Customer stated goals in their words. I need to know the industry. Is it a B2B offer or is it a B2C offer? I need to know the target ICP, the ideal customer. I need to know their demographics. Are they male? Are they female? What's their age range? Are they only in the United States? Are they a business professional? Are they a stay-at-home mom? I want to know their characteristics. Again, the more context that you can feed AI in your research process, the greater the output, the more nuanced and deep psychological output you will get from AI, which is going to, again, get you closer to the target of having really good data to make good decisions in the product and offer that you want to take to market. I need to know what I call the customer's reality. What is their, from what I know in my initial research, what's their challenges? What are their problems? What do they face on a day-to-day basis? And you can do this looking in forums and just doing some basic internet searches, or what you know about the market or the conversations that you've had. Because AI is really good at pulling a lot of weight if you give it the right context. I want to know their biggest problems, so I'll create a list of 5 to 7 of their biggest challenges that they find themselves in. Again, the more context I give AI, the better idea that it has in what I'm trying to achieve and getting those nuances of the market's urgent problems, urgent challenges, so I can create an urgent solution. Not only that, but the messaging that's going to resonate with them. Because what I want to do is I want to mirror what their problems are, right? If they're saying one thing, but I'm communicating something entirely different that's not in the realm of what their problems or challenges are, I'm going to miss. And so I want to be able to reflect back what their challenge is and then reflect a solution that's going to resonate with them. So they're like, I've got their interest, I've got their attention, and then they're interested in working with me or trying my service offer. The next thing is I want to know customer complaints. What do they complain about? And again, you can do some general search on this, conversations, whatever you have to pull from. This is really important context. What are their stated goals? What are the things that they say that they want to achieve? What does success to that customer look like? If they could paint their perfect picture, what does that look like? I want to have 5 to 7 bullet points of that. And then what is the primary segment of the market, right? You think about stay-at-home moms. That's very general. but maybe stay-at-home moms in the South who have 3 young kids at home and they homeschool, right? That's a more honed in segment. So you want to be clear on what your segment of the market is, and you want to utilize that in your research. Then you want to have the context of what is your marketing objective? Do you already have a solidified product, service, and offer? Or are you at a place where you need to validate something? You want to have that, know that, and be very clear so that you can communicate that to AI in this process that I'm going to talk you through. And then you want to have as much general context as you can. The company story, your story, any differentiators that you have. And this is where people go wrong leveraging AI for any part of their business, as they don't give AI the proper context, which is context is structure, it's boundaries. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2 is in giving AI the proper prompt. Something that took myself and a team weeks and weeks to create really good research that then informed our go-to-market strategy. I now have gotten this down to hours, if not minutes, based on the context that I give AI in the prompt. So guys, think about the opportunity here. I mentioned that it took me staff, time, resources, weeks, hours to get to this place where you can do this now with AI and do it really well, just yourself. You don't need a team. You don't need a big research process, and all the stuff that I used to use back in the day and phone conversations. Now, if you want to mix that in, I think that's great. Because again, the more context you have for AI, the better. Let's do this. I'm going to go through and I'm going to go over to ChatGPT. I want to build a solution for defense attorneys. I don't know much about them. I'm thinking defense attorneys who have been in the business for at least 5 years. I don't really know what their problems are. I don't really know what their challenges are. I know I need to know what their urgent problems are and to be able to create a solution. I'm thinking about either creating a SaaS that would be useful for them, or I'm thinking about maybe a service or some kind of consulting offer and implementation, or maybe all the above. And so I really need your help in helping me to determine my first steps in understanding who this market is, what their problems are, and then how I can help them. And I'm going to give you some questions to fill out that we can then create a prompt for deep, intelligent research for the marketplace of defense attorneys. So take this, and then I'm going to give you several questions that I need to answer about defense attorneys. And then I want you to help give me some ideas on solutions that we can create for these guys. Okay. So I'm just going to save that. Then I'm going to say, so I'm filling this out and I don't know anything really about defense attorneys. So I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, since I don't know. And you might have to do a few rounds of this just to figure out and kind of get a sense. And, you're looking around the marketplace. What are these guys saying? If you're in a Facebook group or whatever it might be. All right. So you see, I've got context here. Now, albeit it might not be that fantastic as we're kind of stealing on the fly. I've got some context frames here, questions that I'm just asking ChatGPT. Of course, you can use any model. I think 4.0 would be good. Any LLM, you can try it. And let's just see what happens. Okay, so we've got this. Look, it actually went out and pulled comments. This is actually pretty good. Okay, I can see this. I can see this. All right, guys and gals, so you can see how this is really valuable. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna take you. Let's go next a step further. Okay. Now I want you to build me a deep, nuanced market. Say ICP research prompt. That one of the best things that you can do when you're building prompts is actually have AI build a prompt for you. So now I want you to build me deep, nuanced ICP research prompt that gives me their deep emotional and practical, actually I'm gonna say urgent problems, pains, and desired solutions, desired goals. This prompt should give me deep insight, as if I'm simulating 40 hours of humans doing market research and phone interviews. It should give me the same high quality output. The results of the prompt should allow me to quickly create effective marketing campaigns to launch and scale, to launch, validate, and scale a new product and offer to this market. I need it to hit a bullseye. As I have limited time and resources. Now build the prompt with all the above context, and then I'll run that prompt to get the research. Please, this is important. Please make sure the prompt doesn't have any hallucination, and it gives me incredibly deep insights into this recipe. All right, let's see what we do here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to run it on ChatGPT and also on Claude. I'm going to show you a really cool thing here in just a second as well. All right, so this is building the prompt. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Let me know if you want to run this prompt. Yeah, I'm going to copy this. Please run this prompt here now. Also, include in the results a product, service, or offer that would make sense to create for this ICP. I should have included that in the prompt. All right, I'm going to go to Claude, and then I'm going to show you. Please include your suggested idea, product, or service that I should. Now, of course, you can modify this with anything like SaaS or agency or whatever. Now, one thing you notice, I didn't use a research function. I'm just going to let it use whatever knowledge that it has. Okay. Chronic stress from juggling 50 to 150 cases. Wow. Constant anxiety about missing deadlines for court. What they fear most, missing a critical deadline that could ruin a client's life. Malpractice suits from overwhelmed representation. Burnout leading to career change. Technology. You see how this is like, this is good. This is really good. So this gives me initial knowledge, and you see this took us what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I don't know, something like that, where I'm getting good insight. And here's this comes up as a highlight: criminal defense. Okay, well, it could be, there's several different defense attorneys, I guess, right? So that'd be something maybe that I would reconsider if I were going to rerun this. And this is stuff that I want to validate through conversations. Okay, so now it's giving me recommendations. Based on this ICP research, I recommend developing Defense Flow, an AI-powered case management and client communication hub. Interesting. Very interesting. Look at this. Now, there are other things that we would have to consider in this, right? Because I would assume that there would have to be certain security and privacy features if something like that was going to be created. But you can just see within a few minutes, literally with the right context, the right prompt, like it's moving me in a direction that I can see, okay, is this something that the market has? Now, so here's what I would maybe do is, okay, what I should have done is I should have put that in the prompt, what I'm putting in now, or in that initial question. Are there current solutions in the marketplace that already provide this? If so, what are they? Let's see what chat said. Okay. Now, you're seeing some similarities here. Interesting. Okay, so AI is saying like this a very similar thing, like two different language models. It's good. Okay, establish legal practice management platforms. So then I could go and have a conversation with this guy. Well, how can I bring uniqueness? And right, so there's a lot here. Now, let me show you what I was going to show you, then we'll wrap this up. One of the things that I can do with AI is I can say, okay, you are this ICP, and I want to have a simulated interview with you. I want to know your deepest, darkest pains, what keeps you up at night. Can you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your practice? My goal is to have deep insights about your problems and pains, so I can So now I'm role playing with AI, and let's see how well this is crazy. Okay, so this is, did I already ask that question? Yeah, I did. This is a good question that I usually actually ask in my research, and this is just assuming it. So this is running a simulated interview without me asking any questions. This is interesting. So these are things that I would want to confirm. I pay a VA to help with admin, sometimes helpful, but she doesn't know law. Like, to me, that gives me an idea. Could I have an AI powered app that helps the VA? I have access to law questions. Probably a good chance I could. What makes you want to quit the business? Anyways, you can go deep on this, but hopefully this really shows what's possible with AI. I gave you context, how to create context. Even if you don't know the market, you can get a really good idea of that from AI and the knowledge base that it has. Showed you how to create your own prompt, how to create some solution ideas. Now it would be taking this to market. Do you know attorneys that you can talk to? Probably a great way to do that is if you don't, find a Facebook group or some kind of group where they would hang out and go and see where they're at. Actually, if I were to create a solution and want to talk to and be received by attorneys to pitch a beta of the solution, where would be the best place for me to go and do that? I don't know many attorneys, but I think I can help. Okay, so it just came out of the interview. I mean, this is great. This is really good. I mean, it's insane, y'all, the type of information that you can get. Okay. Answer that as the defense attorney. Simulated interview. Let's see what this guy says. This is really good feedback. There you go, guys. Kind of like start to finish. How to actually create your initial market research, that those first dominoes of context, create the prompt, get intel with, this took us, I think we're 20 something minutes in, and I've got a good idea on where the market is that I don't really know much about. I've got assumptions. I've got a good idea on where they're at, what their problems, their pains are. I've got some ideas on some solutions that I could bring. I have ideas on where I can find them to talk to them and have conversations, or I can validate and see, what they might be willing. And what I would do is I would probably go in some of these Facebook groups or Reddits and just build connections and relationships. If I don't already have these, again, it's usually always best to start with where you are and where you know. But I showed you here, if you don't know and you're saying, man, how can I bring a solution to an audience? This is like the most start from scratch there is. This is really cool. And it's just crazy to think how much more difficult it was just even a year ago. It's how it's advanced to where you can get so much rich data and insight and nuanced information that you have such a good chance to hit closer to the target with your initial project, to validate.
Yeah, man, I like the simplicity of the validation example. For me personally, looking back, I've overcomplicated that part quite a bit. I used to think I needed the full funnel mapped out before asking anyone to commit, and now realize that the first yes is the real funnel. So dude, what did early validation usually look like for you?
Here's what you need. You need a person who's got a problem that you can solve. You need distribution. You need to make offers. That's it. The quicker that you can do that with the least amount of time, the least amount of resource to validate, okay, this solution these people will pay for, I think the better chance you have to have success. Because everything requires energy. Everything that you're going to do requires energy, requires resource, requires time. And so what we're looking for in the research process is doing our due diligence to understand where the market is that we want to work with, the solutions that they might buy. With AI, we can do that so much faster to get to the place where we can actually start making offers to the marketplace and testing this. The better chance you have of actually winning in this process of launching, validating an offer, a service, and then scaling that. So I mentioned how when we first started the business back in the day, how it was just phone calls and Google Doc. And then we started to evolve where we would just launch products. We would pre-sell them to a shopping cart page where it's like, this is the copy, this is the offer, and the first few people get in at a discounted rate. And then we are going to develop the product as we go. So we would not even commit ourselves. We actually would sell a product, and this was a digital product, and this can work across the board. We would put it to market, we would sell it first, and then if people bought it, we would create it, we would develop it. And I think this is a really useful way, especially if you have any kind of list or distribution, people, a social media following. This is a really good way to do this. Or if you know someone that has that, who might be a JV, I think this is a really great way to do that. Now, of course, if you sell it, you either have to deliver, what you say you're going to deliver, or you just refund people. And so what this method, this process does is it helps you to save time.
Got you. What gave you the conviction to move on an idea once you had those early signals?
You are looking to get a feedback loop. That's all you want. Are people going to raise their hand? Are they going to say yes? Are they going to give me a credit card? And can I deliver what I'm saying that I can deliver? That's it. And again, the problem I see people having, and the mistake that they make when they're launching, growing a business, is that they spend way too much time on market validation before they actually research. So don't go out and develop a product unless you have a really good sense that someone's going to buy it and it's going to be a viable product. That comes in your research. Another good way to consider validating your offer is asking for a deposit. So you go out, you put something to market. Hey, I'm building this app. I'm going to limit it to 20 people. And all I'm asking for is a deposit. You put on a deposit of $1 or $10 or $100. And then you see if the market is going to even to put deposit down. And if it's not built in a certain amount of time, you can refund their money. Right? That's another way you can do this. Tesla actually did this really successfully. When they launched several of their models, I don't know if they still do this, but they would take $100 deposit before they built the inventory. So now they have numbers on, okay, is this going to work? Is this viable? So it's a great strategy that you can also leverage.
Got you. Yeah, man. For me personally, I can stay in research way too long. I get stuck chasing one or more insights. And so in your experience, Chris, what kind of research gives you the edge, would you say?
This is a really good question, Johnny. The thing that's going to give you the edge in whatever you're developing is having the deep nuance of what the market is saying. Not only what they're saying, but what they're thinking, what they're dreaming about, what their nightmares are, what they're feeling. Because then you are tapping into their deep needs. And if you understand that versus another guy who doesn't, or they're not close to where those nuances that your market's dealing with, if you understand that, you're going to be able to serve them well. And that's what this is about. If you serve the market well, you'll have success. And so this is not from manipulation. It's a very powerful skill. When you can get to the heart of a person, their problems, their challenges, and then create a solution that they are willing to give you money for in exchange for the value that you can provide, is an extremely valuable skill set to have.
That distinction around the nuance, understanding what people say versus what they mean, that's super helpful for me to hear, especially right now. One thing I've noticed is that emotion creates urgency where logic really justifies it later. How do you know when you've got enough insight to start moving?
This is another really good question. What you're looking for from research is having enough data to go to market with. Again, minimum viable, whether that's conversations, whether you can quickly launch and spin up an app to get beta users within a few days, or an offer a product to send to your email list within a few days. You need just enough information to put enough to market just to get feedback loops. So, do you have an idea of a solution that can help a person with an urgent problem? That's what I'd say you need enough. And I think it also depends on your personality. If you're someone who's more of a perfectionist and you tend to always need more and more and more, and it's not good enough yet, be aware of that. Or if you just jump the gun and you don't understand, okay, well, there are some nuances that I need to know. It's all about going to market, whether conversations, chats, emails, or putting up a buy form and launching a deposit for this idea that you have. You're looking for feedback. Do you have enough to get feedback from the market, to iterate, and then go back to the market again? You're just looking to validate. Do I have enough to validate my idea? That's it. And you just move forward. You get that feedback, you test, adjust. Like if it just falls flat, like that product that I launched years ago, and I spent so much time, and I think we got one sale. Like that's not enough to build a business on, right? So are there people that are showing a good amount of interest and they're like, oh my gosh, that's something that I want, that I need? Those are the things that you're looking for.
That makes a lot of sense, Chris. I've definitely felt the difference when something just clicks emotionally. For you, when does an idea feel real enough to build? Like not in theory, I mean, when does it cross the threshold?
For example, I had a conversation with a few guys a couple of weeks ago. And this is just a nonchalant conversation. Like, yeah, I'm developing this AI solution. I'm building agentic teams that run these processes for me. They said, oh my gosh, dude, can I buy that? Like that, those are the kind of things that you're looking for. When you talk about the solution that fixes a problem, are people raising their hands and they're saying yes verbally? Are they showing intense interest? Or are they just like, oh, that's kind of cool? No. You want someone's like, man, like, how can I get that? Right? Or here's my credit card. Even better. That's how you know. Do I have enough to validate? Do I have enough to have a conversation? And are people interested before I even build it? It's all about getting data. It's all about getting information. That is the whole game. And that's why research is so important, because it gives you that pre-game advantage. It's almost like if you're going to play the NFL, right? You're going to play in the NFL, you're going to play in the Super Bowl. And imagine you have one team, they've looked at every game of their opponents, right? They know how they play defense. They know all the players on defense. They know how they play offense, all their tricks, all their schemes, right? And then you have another team. They don't do any film footage. This is the difference of someone who does really good research and looking at their market versus someone who doesn't. But you know, when a coach calls a play on the opposite team, you know exactly where that wide receiver is going. The same idea with you doing your due diligence and doing your research. You're just watching tape. You're just listening. You're being intentional to understand, okay, what's the thing they're saying and what's the thing behind what they're saying? What's that nuance?
Dude, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for dropping all these value bombs. Got so much to take away from this. I really appreciate your time. And again, dude, thanks for all your experience. And guys, that's a wrap for this one. In the next episode, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of our first soft launch inside of the challenge. I'll walk you through why we chose that specific app and what the early traction looked like and how I went about researching and pressure testing the space. I'll also share a bit of my competitive analysis, what tools I used, what signals I was tracking, and how I'm making decisions right now, not in theory, but in motion, especially based off the insights Chris shared in this episode. And guys, if this episode hit home for you, give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time. And hey, I would love to hear what you guys are building. Drop it down in the comments, even if it's messy or if it's early. I'll be reading through them. And again, guys, I dropped access to Chris's channel in the description below. Go have a look at it. Go see what he's up to. I would highly recommend that. See you in the next one.